also by day, and by night a stand-up comedian, which means he's funny, and he can prove it, but involves integrals into complex plane. Please welcome your host for Science Today, Lou Lefton!
Thank you. Welcome. We have a great show for you tonight. Science Today, the premier science talk show here at the Atlanta Science Festival in beautiful downtown Atlanta. Great band, right? We have punk scientists, genetically modified rock gene scientists. I'm very happy to be here. As Pete mentioned, I am in the math department at Georgia Tech, and you know, mathematics is one of those things that a lot of people, they take math, but they're not quite sure when they actually are going to use it in their real life. And I think that's just a lost opportunity. You just have to use a little creativity. For example, how many of you folks know about complex numbers? Yeah? The real plane, the imaginary. Yeah, I use complex numbers all the time in my real life. I use them to balance my checkbook. No, it's actually really convenient because you've got the real part, that's what the bank thinks you have. And then there's the imaginary part, which is what you're allowed to spend completely. Here's a little bit of a math observation. Did you know that if you actually take a bag with 10 balls in it, and there are 6 red balls and 4 black balls, and you draw 5 balls out without replacement, there is a 75% chance you are trapped in a probability word problem. Not real. Wake up! Wake up! Yeah, I was always into math, even when I was a kid. When I was like a teenager, I remember being in middle school, and I would sometimes misinterpret numbers. Statistics can have this property where you don't quite, they're lying to you because, I remember walking through the mall and I saw a big sign outside of Victoria's Secret that all bras 50% off. And I thought that was pretty cool because I figured that meant there was going to be a lot of women with a boob hanging out in the store. But that's not. That was a lie. That was a statistical lie. I have kids though. I have kids now, and I'm hoping that they don't grow up to be kind of a smart mouth kid like I was. I was a real smart mouth kid. I'd say stuff to my dad like, my dad would say, "Lou, I got nothing to hear with that crap." I'd say, "Gee, Dad, only this much more, you'll be full of crap." Once we get your head filled up, you'll be a crap head and you're grounded, right? Because that's how you get punished when you're a kid. You're grounded. It's like, okay, Dad, I'm grounded. All right. No free electrons on me. I won't carry a charge for a month, I promise. But yeah, it's great being. My kids are great now. Of course, I actually have twins, and when they were really little, anybody here have twins? Any parents of twins? No? What are the odds of that? Lucine. The thing about twins is when they were really little, they developed their own language. And my wife was really concerned. It's like, oh no, they're going to be ostracized. No one's going to want to play with them. They'll only be able to communicate with each other. What's this going on? I looked up in the parenting books. Actually, it's very normal. Twins, when they're little, they often develop their own language. I tried to reassure my wife. I told her it's okay. When they're little, they'll develop their own language. They'll get older, they'll outgrow it, and they'll start programming in Java or C++. If you want to write a compiler when you're a toddler, I say let them. Develop a language. Yeah, where's my drum? Sonic Hedgehog. Well, anyway, we do have a really good show for you, and I'm pretty excited. I want to finish up my little monologue here with a quick impression. I like to do some impressions. This is my impression of a cheerleader in 8 dimensions. This is in case those of you didn't think that your linear algebra class was going to have any applications. Here's a cheerleader in 8 dimensions. Ready? Okay. We'll put you to the test. We're better than the rest. We're gonna be the best. We're never my arms are still moving. They're just orthogonal to your 3 right now. We're never gonna rest. We're the best. Thank you. I'd like to, on that wonderful note, to bring out my gregarious and entertaining co-host. Please have your hands together. table.
Okay, but I think there's some bug remnants here. Thank you.
So, how are you, Pete?
I'm good. I'm good.
We are really excited to have a great lineup for science today. We have a world-class physicist and a major biomolecular engineer, and we're going to hear. We got the hard sciences and physical sciences and the biological sciences, and you.
Yeah. Here for the comic relief, is that basically?
That's it.
That's good. So, but speaking of the discovery about gravity, which is something we're going to talk about just a little bit. So, have you seen the Einstein statue?
Yes, we have it. And we have actually. It's not on the table, but we do have. I should bring it back out. I have a mint condition Albert Einstein action figure.
In box.
So, pretty excited about that.
So, did you keep that in your office?
No, that stays in the vault.
What are the things you have in the vault?
I'm not allowed to speak of what's in the vault.
I'm not really sure. I would like to know what that is. But have you seen it though? It's what? I guess it's a copy of the one that's at the National Chemicals Building in D.C.
Right.
There's another size copy similar to the one we have. I think it's in Switzerland.
I think it's in Tel Aviv.
Okay.
Yeah, and
All right,
it's a 1/2 scale copy of the one that's outside the National Academy. It's a great sculpture of Albert Einstein.
I've seen the one outside the Chemicals Building. So why is he melting? That's what I'd like to know.
It's very hot. It's Atlanta.
Hot Atlanta waves. But he's melting in D.C. too.
Yes. Did you do anything to celebrate the vernal equinox today? By the way, ladies and gentlemen, the line between night and day is perpendicular to the equator. Thank you. Yes, it is. It really is.
When I was driving back from University of Alabama.
Nice wimp there.
It's not the most exciting holiday.
No, the vernal equinox is not nearly as exciting as the autumnal.
But I was coming back from University of Alabama. I was going to talk at a conference there. Driving through Alabama and Georgia in the middle of the night, pulled into a gas station in the middle of rural Alabama. I was actually wearing one of these, right? One of these pocket protectors that says nerds on it. And the nice lady behind the register asked, "Are you really a nerd?" I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, then you'll be the first person to appreciate this." I asked you, "Did you have a good Pi Day?" It was on the 14th.
Aww.
So apparently, rural Alabama, not a lot of people will pick a Pi Day.
It's lonely at the Pi Day parties.
Or for them, they actually mean it's really Pi, Apple.
It's actually good. So let's bring out our first guest because I'm very excited to have him here. Dr. Manu Plott, ladies and gentlemen, from the Georgia Institute of Technology. So, Manu, I know that you did your research. You started out here local, right? You started out right here in Morehouse College. Let's have a shout out. What's the mascot at Morehouse?
The Tigers, the Maroon Tigers.
The Maroon Tigers, the Morehouse Tigers.
I think they're state.
I've not seen a maroon tiger in the wild. So, and then you went on to Georgia Tech.
I did.
Emory. And MIT, you've been all at the great places of the world.
Yes, sir.
And so tell us a little bit about your work. I know you've done some tissue engineering. I know you've done some work in diseases and systems biology. You're all over the map.
I am. And I love to be all over the globe because science can take you all those places, right?
That's right.
So no, what I really love thinking about is how you can use, I think about biomedical engineering as using health and physics, or math and physics, math is your world, to solve health-related problems. So that's the part that we think about. And what keeps me up late at night is trying to think about how we can cure some of these diseases. And so that's what drives me. And a lot of the diseases we study are really health disparities. So sickle cell disease is one of them. HIV is a different one, and cancer. But what I think is important, as I've learned through the HIV work, is that things that are health disparities in the U.S. are like global health problems. So we can solve them in the U.S., then we'll have like global impact. And that's an amazing thing.
That's excellent. Yeah. So when you say we talk about health disparities, maybe you can help our audience parse that out. What does that mean to you?
So those are diseases that like disproportionately affect one community over another, right? A lot of people separate it by ethnic minorities, but it's also financial. People with low socioeconomic status, that they will die of something more so than the general
So
population.
it's not just mental illness and talk show host work. That's the one I was looking for.
Those are different.
Okay, I guess they mental illness and tenure for a detective professor.
So what kind of surprising things have you found in your work? Is there anything that's really kind of come up against you? Because this happens in science and research a lot, where you usually make a hypothesis and you sort of know what the answer is, but then sometimes the data surprises you.
So, yes. So, always, right?
Always the data.
Always. And then when you become a professor, you learn that it's surprising. Then you have to kind of manage your students' psychology through that.
Right.
So what's been interesting about sickle cell, right? I do a lot of work with community-based organizations, Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia. And it's funny, as a scientist, you're focused on the problem and what you think is going to be what's going to fix it, right?
Right.
But then you go inside the community-based organization, they kind of change your mind about what you were thinking. So let me give you an example. So, for example, we always talk about in the science world about, oh, we need to make sure people don't pass the sickle trait onto their offspring so
Right.
they cannot have children with sickle cell. But when you work in the community, people who have sickle cell disease, they don't look at it as the same problem that someone who doesn't have it might think about it,
Oh,
right?
really? Okay.
And so for them, it's their normal, and when you talk to them about what this never happened again, you kind of got to back up a little bit.
Right.
I'm so sorry I didn't need to say that, right?
Okay.
And so that's where it takes us nerds who are less socially available. And then when we go out into the social world, we have to be.
Pete is right here on the couch.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just getting straight past it at the pool.
You make a very good point. So, for example, one of the big projects that Georgia Tech is working on now is service learning, right? So this is a huge project at Georgia Tech. I've had a chance to observe this before, and what Ellen Zagora and people at Georgia Tech who do things like computing for good. They send their students out, and she realizes the skill they're missing the most is exactly what you just said, the ability to listen. We come out, the experts from Georgia Tech, they know what they're doing, here's how we're going to fix the problem, and people are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let us give you our perspective.
Right.
And that's where they learn. How do we get our students to listen more? That would be.
Well, I think what you said is really important. I think if we get our students to start engaging with the community more, number one, there's a different perspective on how to solve the problem, right?
Right.
So, there's this whole new push about the most creative teams have the most diverse answers to actually solve problems.
Right.
So when I go and talk to the community and bring my students with me, they get to see the actuality of what's happening. And then what we think inside of our own cold world, inside the lab, is not actually the best solution for the individuals that we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
But where it gets even crazier is, this is, you all probably did this back in school, we can admit this publicly. I used to laugh at my friends that were English majors or history majors that would say they were busy. What do you We can all read while we're in the
Okay.
But what I've learned,
Right now they're busy cutting their tomatoes out of their purse.
yeah, right. But what I learned, when I started being a real scientist, we can do the best nerd discoveries in our lab, but if you want to get into the people, you've got to deal with the cultural differences,
Right.
the community, the conversation,
Right.
because we can have the best ideas, but if they don't want to take it out because we can't communicate it, it means nothing. And so that's where we have to make friends with the other side of campus.
So unfortunately, most of us don't learn this until we're faculty at Georgia Tech, and the National Science Foundation requires us to write this little section called Broader Impact, where you get out there and explain to normal people why this is important and what it is we're doing. So we're doing Broader Impact.
We are. This is Rob.
Excellent. Wow, yeah. All right, but I couldn't help but notice you have your own wristband for your lab.
Oh, wow.
The
Flat Lab.
Flat Lab, check us out, flatlab.com.
Flat Lab.
Should I be getting a thing for my lab?
Well, so actually one of my students actually had these made for us, and then I really took it on, and they actually glow in the dark, or they work great in the club with a black light.
Your students have no time to go to the club, right? They're working lab.
Well, I mean, I encourage a Friday night.
Not at Flat Lab.
Because I do feel like that they clear their mind from the clutter of the regular way, they come back with fresh perspectives on Saturday.
I want to
and
be in
Sunday.
Flat Lab.
But Saturday and Sunday, you should be at Flat Lab. That's very clear.
My daughter has you for physiology.
Yes.
Right, that's why she likes this class so much.
Oh, there's a violation right here on stage.
No, it's fun talking to the undergrads because, so again, I use my lecture class when we talk about sickle cell disease, because one of these things is one of the, the first genetic disease we've identified, right? And the first patient was identified in, 106 years ago, right, 1910. And not the first person to ever have it, but the one that was first kind of identified and started following it. But the thing about it is after 106 years of studying this disease, we know the genetic cause, we know the molecular cause, we know all these things about it, one drug on the market, right? One
That's
drug.
it?
One drug, that's it.
Really?
And it's the most common genetic disease in the United
And it
States.
seems like it's very well understood, right?
Very well, it is. So here's the thing, it's very well understood, but then it's not. The biggest problem is that these cells have to give up oxygen, and that's when they sickle. And so it's funny when I discuss it with my class, where they're like, well, how come you can't just stop the cells from giving off oxygen? I was like, thank you.
We get a little laugh from the biologists.
They don't give up the oxygen.
Oh, there's that.
So it's sometimes that's a problem. And so it's a complicated issue that really affects everything, every tissue, every organ system in your body. And
Yeah.
so, and really trying to find it, I think a lot of people think it's cured, but it's not. And that we do need more people to come around and start studying it. So I'm glad to be here to
Yeah.
spread some information around.
Excellent.
And I think you were saying before the program, it's not just a matter of the biochemistry.
Right.
But also the physical environment of these cells in the.
Exactly. That's why they let me study the biomedical engineering, right? So we
Right.
actually care how the biomechanics, because the red cells get really stiff, and that's the biggest problem. They get really stiff in black tissue. But when you talk about fluid dynamics, they actually change the way the blood flows, and that, the craziest thing, mechanical forces influence gene and protein expression. And so that's where biomedical engineering really adds value to look at not only the biochemistry, but how do the mechanics fit into causing these problems.
Shout out to Navier and Stokes.
Oh, we go. I thought Nadia just hyphenated his name.
I know, I'm not sure.
Okay.
They were all drinking scotch.
Yes.
So this is really great. We have another guest, so we're gonna go ahead and bring her out. Also, actually at Georgia Tech faculty. And but let's have a hand for Dr. Platt and Platt Lab.
Promise to turn on the black lights now.
Okay.
So our next actual, I think we have our next guest. Very excited to have her on the show. This is the March 2016 issue of Science News cover story of gravitational waves. And so let's have a big hand for Dr. Laura Cotonati. Did you see my Albert Einstein action figure?
I have one of these in my office.
Awesome. All the cool people have one. New in box?
No.
Ah.
It's comfortable sitting on a bookcase. Next to the Coke bottle that says Einstein.
Share a Coke with Einstein.
Yeah.
Very nice.
See, most people take them out of the box and play with them.
Yeah.
That's a
People with
antisocial
this.
thing.
Yeah, Albert.
There you go. It's a little.
I'm a little intimidated just to rip the plastic.
I actually braided his hair.
There you go. You're kind of making him more like Manu every day. So, Laura, of course, you're part of the LIGO team, right?
Yes.
And can you tell our audience a little bit about, just briefly, what is LIGO? And what was, did you just feel that? Did you just feel that gravitational wave?
Gravitational wave? Boy,
I
you're
could
good. You can feel that.
I felt, maybe it was my imagination. What's LIGO?
So LIGO is two things. So LIGO is the laser interferometer gravitational wave observatory. It's a mouthful. It's a detector for gravitational waves. It's basically we're using lasers to measure changes in the distance between mirrors that are 2.5 miles apart. And these changes are due to the passage of gravitational waves that are produced by astrophysical events that happened many years ago. So we have two such detectors. One is in Louisiana and one is in Washington State. It's a project funded by the National Science Foundation. LIGO is also a collaboration of about 1,000 people that are scattered around the world. So US, but also in Europe, in Asia, Australia. And all together we've been working to bring these detectors up to the point where we could announce on February 11th the discovery of gravitational waves.
That's awesome. Now, as I was telling Laura backstage, I think the progression is Galileo, who gave us the optical telescope, right? Light. And then we have radio telescopes. And now we have an entirely new way of observing the universe. So Galileo, Marconi, Cotonati.
Yeah.
Could you write a song about that? All right, excellent. We'll work on that.
It's the Italian legacy.
That's right. So the Italians know a lot about the universe, apparently. Now, so seriously though, this does give us a new way of observing the universe.
Yeah, so there are two exciting aspects of this discovery. One is that we proved Einstein right again. We also proved him wrong because when he predicted gravitational wave 100 years ago, he thought there was no way there would be any event that would produce anything remotely detectable. And so we got it right around at the same time. That's quite the achievement. But also now, gravitational waves are going to be this new signal, this new sense on the universe. It's like when you can see and you can hear the universe. So this event that we found, this is something that happened 1.3 billion years ago, so far away. And we could basically hear the sounds that the two black holes did as they merged.
Yeah, so that's amazing, right? I mean, we actually have audible evidence of two black holes colliding here in 2016.
You want to hear what they sound like?
Yeah, dude.
I was guessing.
Okay, wait, this is the first
Right.
impression.
Okay.
Black holes colliding. Ready?
Okay.
That was impressive. That was it.
Oscilloscope, and that's it, man.
Yeah.
I can tell
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is they're rotating, right, and they're getting
They
closer
get
and
faster
closer.
and faster, and so the frequency of the wave increases up until the point the horizon clash, and so then at that point the two objects merge, and we get a black hole, and then the black hole is excited, and it de-excites, so you get.
So what we're actually hearing are the actual ripples in space and time, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
fabric of space-time.
Yes.
And that's, I guess, I've heard that called one of the stiffest substances around. So
That's right.
it takes a lot of energy to make that ripple.
Mhm.
How much energy was released in this collision?
Septillions, gazillions.
Gazillions. We're inventing new numbers.
The amount of energy, so we had two black holes. They were both about 30 times the size of the sun. And as they merged, they created a black hole that was a little bit smaller than the sum of the two. So we had the equivalent of 3 suns. So the mass of 3 suns, Einstein tells us E equal mc squared. So we get the mass of 3 suns converted into energy. That energy is deployed in a fraction of a second. And so the power that was emitted there was equivalent to 50 times the power of the visible universe. And it was just this blast. This blast that was produced at that point. Now, had one of us being nearby, the gravitational wave would have been so strong that we would have been stretched, twice in size and then squashed down.
Who just fell down when you heard the news?
That's right.
But then these waves traveled for 1.3 billion years at the speed of light, and they finally eventually reached Earth. And the effect here was over the length of the detector, which is 2.5 miles, it was equivalent to 1,000 times the size of a proton. So something so small that we have to fight with quantum mechanics and super small.
And this was one of the reasons Einstein was very doubtful that we could detect
That's
them.
right. Because you need something very powerful,
Right.
and then something very, an instrument that can detect at those limits.
Right, can
which-
detect a fluctuation, the thousandth of a proton.
Which
in-
up until 10 years ago, people would have told you that no way that's going to happen.
But I mean, with nerds like us, you're preaching the choir. We're excited about this thing, right?
Good.
As Lou was in the turn of the last century, when I was had general and special relativity. But I mean, what does this mean to the
I've been
average
traveling very
person
fast, that's why I look so young.
who's not excited? What does this mean to the average person?
Well, so, if one thinks about immediate applications, so things that you can use, well, these detectors are really miracles of engineering. So
Right.
there has been, in building them, lots of development in laser science, control systems, so all things that will have repercussions from the technology point of view. When Einstein came up with general relativity, he didn't know back then that we now have GPS that can track,
Right.
how we go to Starbucks, So the repercussions of fundamental science are on a longer time scale. But to me, what's most important is that really, I mean, this is my Italian heritage, I guess. That's the Galileo heritage of, you're just observing the unknown in a new way. It's kind of part of the legacy that we are giving to the next generations. It's we're going to be able to learn more about black holes, and at some point we may know more about even the Big Bang. So where do we come from? Because the gravitational wave are going to tell us information from earlier than we can so far.
Right.
So it's all part of the quest for knowledge and discovery, and that's what I find is the most enriching.
But admittedly, I mean, it was about 75, 80 years between relativity at the beginning of last century and the fact that we use them as corrections in the satellites for GPS. So I think you got some time.
Your time, yeah, we'll come up with something.
Part of the century.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's have a hand for our guests. Give us another musical number.
Yeah. So this one is called Bed of Fossils.
I know a place where God's so spoiled, some down to the soil. Keep a bed of fossils made boil, in tar pits you can watch them boil. I've got shoulders like so tall, shoot on branches till they fall. Fish in the giant dig so deep, never met plenty in 1 2 weeks. No place where dinosaurs spoil, getting sunk down into the soil. There are fossils made boiled in the dark pit to watch them boil. Velociraptors, sweet and spry, like comes by in the blink of an eye. Better watch out when you hear that screech. Got a big old problem to help them reach. I know a place where dinosaurs spoiled and sunk down to the soil. Keep a bed of fossils made boil, in the dark pits you can watch them boil. Tyrannosaurus, look at the crew, nearby all and from the one two. Made a point to really ignore every little creature who causes new alarm.
Yes, Lucy, zipper and zinc fingers, excellent. So we're going to finish up with just a little conversation. We like to ask our guests some questions, or just sharing a story about what got you interested in your field, or some of your hobbies, maybe.
Why you haven't left your field yet?
Yes.
Why there's not enough math in it?
Yeah. What do you have any inspiring stories from your past you want to?
So it's funny. So the summer before my senior year of undergraduate, I was interning at a NASA site, and I really was like, well, I think they got all the answers, right? I think all these smart people I've met, they figured everything out.
I used to work at NASA. That was not my experience.
I was really smart.
How many meter feet should we put in here?
And I just remember having that conversation of, I think, well, what else is left for me to do if I go to grad school to find out, right? And then when I did grad school, and then I started my own lab, but it was this thing of, for all the young people out there are so many questions we don't have answers to. And what I think is important about this diversity in science, not just who you are, but your experience, where you've been, what you've learned, because the way that I approach sickle cell has been different than everyone else for the last 106 years, which at first I thought, these are probably dumb questions because they had 100 years to look at them.
Right.
Turns out, no one wanted to approach it the way we were, and we're able to make some new insight there. So I think everyone who thinks that we know things or that your ideas aren't that good, there's so much out there that we don't know. So go for it.
Trust your instinct.
It's kind of the modern version of the wacky thought experiments about trains and spaceships and tunnels. They thought he was that.
Exactly.
So you're in good company.
Yeah.
And Laura, where did your interest in astrophysics and
Well,
Einstein's equations? You grew up with partial differential equations, I presume.
well, actually, the roots of my interest in this go back to when I was about 7 years old, and my mom keeps repeating the story in case I forget. And back then I was saying, when I grow up, I'm gonna go to America, and I'm gonna be a scientist. I also briefly thought I'm gonna be a nun, and I'm gonna go to cloister, but then that didn't happen. So
But Howie's physics is close to that.
I closed myself in my office with all my physics books. But yeah, I started doing particle physics. I was studying neutrinos because neutrinos are very hard to find. But I want to challenge it with something really hard to find.
Yeah.
But then they were found. So
Did you hear there's like possibly a fourth flavor?
I thought it was the neutrino.
The neutrino.
So when there are neutrinos, we've seen that mass. So hey, gravitational waves, nobody believes in those. So I'll go and work on that for 15 years, and now we found them. So
Sorry,
yeah, I guess
next up, unicorns.
I think so. I need myself a challenge.
Yeah.
So basically, we're looking at astrophysics and the convent, very similar, except you get to eat meat on Fridays.
That's true.
Yes. All right.
All right, well, let's once again thank you. I want to give a shout out to again to the Atlanta Science Festival, also Georgia Tech, who's been a big sponsor of Science Today,
The College of Science.
the College of Sciences, and also actually I want to thank Mark Merlin and the Atlanta Science Tavern, big, huge supporters of science here in town. Let's give them all a hand. Pete, do we have our data? We don't have our data for right now.
No, we don't have our data.
All right, so we're going to finish it out. Without our data, we're going to go ahead and close out our show with one more song to finish out our last edition of Science Today. Make sure you check the Atlanta Science Festival website for other great stuff happening this week. And we will also be releasing these videos after they get edited down, where most of it will not include Pete. So we'll see, there'll be just sort of a big kind of pixelated, blurry thing over there. Let's hear it from Lucy and Zephyr. One more song.
Thanks. So we're going to play a song. We're having another event on Friday at the Academy of Medicine, the Lucy and Zipper Science Show, which is a science variety show. This year it falls during Georgia Tech spring break, so we're having a spring break beach party. And so we wrote a special song for our spring break beach party, and we'll give you a little preview of it. I think you'll be able to figure out what it's about. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
1, 2, 3, go.
It was a sunny day in early June. I'd been spending too much time alone in my room. I went outside so I could catch some rays. Lay down in my hammock and fell into a daze. Ooh, I've never felt quite so at peace. I feel that sun coming through the leaves. I closed my eyes, I heard the birds sing a tune. Before I knew it, it was late afternoon. My eyes popped open, things were not the same. I was screaming out in pain, and it's a sunburn. When will I learn that UV light is wrecking my eyesight? I cried my DNA, I hope I'll be okay. I swear I'll never do I'll set a timer, but for now my DNA is full of timers. I hope I didn't activate an oncogene. Why didn't I wear sunscreen? And it's a sunburn. When will I learn that UV light is wrecking my eyesight? I fried my DNA. I hope I'll be okay. I swear I'll never do it again. And it's a sunburn. When will I learn that UV light is wrecking my eyesight? I fried my DNA. I hope I'll be okay. I swear I'll never do it again. You know I hope I'll never do it again. Chances are I'll probably do it again.
Thank you again for coming out to Science Today. If you want some t-shirts, I think Pete will have
If
some.
you wanna swap those sizes.
Yep.
All right.
A hand for my co-host, Pete Lonevis.